I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Russell, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello, and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I am your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as always by the lovely Miss Karen Rastel, best damn lender in the state of Indiana. Hello. Hello. So we're recording this show towards the end of January 2020, and I think that real estate season is hit.
I think so too.
Yeah, because it's a little crazy.
Yeah, I was trying to get all my, or as a client said, get all my ducks in the same pond. I never heard it like that.
No, they get in a row, don't they?
They do get in a row, but if they're not even in the same vicinity,
you got to give them the pond. You got to give them the pond.
I like that. Yes, I got to put all those ducks back and keep them
in
there.
the pond.
In the pond,
and then you can work on getting them in a row.
Yeah, because they'll just follow each other. You know how ducks.
Because you just drop them.
Yeah,
perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I have a little bit of a story about the show guest today. Kind of. And that is that several years ago, I don't know if you know the story or not. Several years ago, I had someone working for me as an assistant. This is going back several years. And because her work life had changed, she needed to sort of figure out where she was going to go to grab quick lunches and things like that. I think she had kind of been working a different job, so she was able to eat lunch at home and stuff. And so she's like, where am I going to go? I want to eat healthy. And she was vegetarian at the time. And so people kept telling her, you need to go to this place.
Okay.
And she's like, no, I'm afraid.
She sounds like me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we made fun of her.
Okay. That sounds like me too.
And we taunted her.
That sounds like me
And we cajoled her until she went in. And now she's like, I think they're every other day.
So peer pressure, she went in by herself.
Right.
Perfect. Okay.
But what was interesting to me was that there was this, like fear almost. It wasn't fear like I'm terrified. It's just like, it's the thing that we talk about all the time, that unknown. I've never been in this place. I know there's something kind of different about it. And so I don't want to go and make a fool of myself. I don't want to go and make a mistake and have her, and nobody ever does that. It's not like they're pointing fingers and laughing at you.
No, but sometimes I'll check the menu. If it's online or something, I want to see so that I at least have that kind of something in my back pocket.
Right. Well, I've been going to this place since 1992-ish, probably. Yeah.
I know. I'm sitting there giving you looks.
I know. You're trying to figure it out.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting that there was a coincidence because we scheduled this show several weeks ago, but there was, and I'm going to talk about this once we reveal who the guest is, but there was an announcement in the news last week, about something in a similar genre. And I think it just brings out interesting conversation about this,
this business?
This sort of
area
genre of business, if you will.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No.
Got nothing?
I got nothing.
It started in a back alley.
Good things happen in back alleys.
Right? And bad things happen in back alleys, too.
True.
But sometimes good things happen. No?
Okay, no.
Okay. Well, I would like to introduce today Dee and Phil, and they are from Bloomingfoods.
Oh, yay. Okay.
So back alley, did you ever go to that original Bloomingfoods?
No, I did not.
It was right behind. Did you guys work at that original? Do you know, were you back around that time? So in the 90s, I worked at a pizza place on Kirkwood when I was in college, and Bloomingfoods was right behind it.
I had no idea.
Yeah, down this back alley. And so whenever we ran out of like lettuce or mushrooms or something, we'd be like, just go over to Bloomingfoods and
grab some.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was the original. But no, what I was talking about with the news story last week was that Lucky's closing down. And I think it just gives some interesting context to today's show, because when Lucky's came in, there was a lot of people talking about how's that going to impact Bloomingfoods. And the fact that Lucky's is closing and Bloomingfoods is not, which is kind of not what people were saying was probably going to happen a couple of years ago. I'm hoping, I think that's a testament to what's going on over there. So let's talk a little bit about the history, because Bloomingfoods has been around for 44 years. And I want to talk about the history, and I want to talk about the co-op and what that means, because I think that's one of the things that's sort of making people go, I don't know, am I allowed to go in there? Is it a secret club? Is there a handshake? Is there a password?
I never even thought of it that way. No, I was just thinking before I ever went into Bloomingfoods, my first thought was, I wonder what kinds of food they're going to have and what that price point was. Those were the two
How it's
thoughts.
different?
Yeah. How is it different from
but those are good questions too.
The supermarket? But okay.
All right. Well, can one of you give us the history of Bloomingfoods, like just in a nutshell, like a 2-sentence kind of?
No.
Not
a 2-sentence.
Okay. You can have 4. How's that?
Started out as a buying club, back in the mid '70s. Opened its doors as a retail outlet in 1976.
So a buying club. So it was just people wanting certain products that they couldn't get anywhere else, and
that they couldn't find, or that they couldn't find at the price they were looking for.
Okay.
So buying in bulk and then divvying up, 55-pound bags of beans amongst however many people were interested.
Interesting. Okay. I know that like in the 70s, my parents are from California and my mother has some hippie tendencies that she'll deny. But, we were eating, the health food kind of stuff that people weren't, when I was growing up. And there was one place, I grew up in Indianapolis, and there was one place in Broad Ripple that you could go to get that, but it wasn't widely available like it is today. So this was certainly one of the answers to that.
And I'd never heard of a buyer's club. I'd never heard of that before. So that's a new term for me.
I am assuming that it kind of started casually and then formalized.
That's correct. And that's a pretty common trajectory among co-ops, starting out small group of people. Yeah. And they decide that at some point they needed an employee, and they kind of grow from there.
So can you talk a little bit about what a co-op is and how is it different than just, going to Kroger?
So a cooperative is just a business model. And as a business model, it's owned by its members, typically democratically controlled. And one of its primary functions is to meet the needs of its members. So for us as a cooperative, we have an end statement, and we need to view most of our, if not all of our decision making through the lens of being true to those ends.
Okay.
That's one of the things that makes it different than, say, a Kroger. Since we're community owned and exist to serve the community, all of the money that you spend at the co-op stays in our community. We try to pay a competitive wage and offer a competitive benefit package to our employees. We vastly prioritize local producers, local farmers, other vendors, and that's another way that the money you spend at the co-op stays in the community. And that's of particular importance to me as an individual, not just the co-op at large.
So when you say that you're focused on staying true to those ends, is the difference that, your end isn't the bottom dollar, which is kind of what, probably a big conglomerate grocery store, their end is the bottom dollar, that no matter what.
Profitability is not one of our ends.
Okay. So
what is necessary to remain in business.
Yeah. So do you know, can you name off the top of your head what your ends are?
Truthfully,
put you on the spot. No, I don't blame you.
I'd be happy to look them up on my phone, or
let's come back on segment 2 with that. And I'm sorry to put you on the spot with that, because if you asked me, what my mission statement was or something, I would fumble as well, because you're just living it. And that's sort of the impression I get from everyone who walks into Bloomingfoods, is that, you're living it. You don't have to think about it. It's not one of these businesses where you have to put on the wall what you intend to do, because everybody who works there and everybody who's a member there knows it and lives it.
And I can certainly sum up our ends.
Yeah.
And, it's responsibility to our community, to the environment. We have a responsibility to educate people about the local food system and what your part in that is, as opposed to, agribusiness.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And what does... let's talk about membership a little bit, because I think that that's a big question mark that people, do you feel like that's a misconception? People know there's a membership, but they don't really know much about it or how that works.
There certainly is some confusion around that.
So how much, I'm losing my voice today, I apologize. How much does membership cost?
It's a $90 fee that gives you one share in the co-op. It's completely refundable should you ever become dissatisfied or need to leave the community or whatever. You can sell your share back to the co-op.
Do people do that when they move, or do they just kind of say?
It depends. Yeah. Some people, I heard at one point we had members living in like Singapore, right? So
Yeah.
they moved and just kept their memberships.
Well, I was curious because online there was one of the pages I was looking at on your website talks about that you have, at the time that page went up, about 12,500 members. Mm-hmm. And then it split out where they were. And there was about 4,000 in, 47401 zip code. And there was another, 3,000 in 47403 or whatever. I'm making up the numbers from here on out. But there was a big chunk that were outside of any of the local zip codes and a lot in Brown County too. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, do people, and so I was thinking, I'm like, is that all Greene County but I didn't think about people moving away and staying connected. It's kind of cool to still have that piece. And that's a one-time fee, right?
That's correct.
So you don't have to pay that every year, which is, and people could even make payments on that if they wanted to, right?
That's correct.
So very, I think, attainable, if that's something. So what are the benefits that people get from membership?
Well, aside from, supporting a positive business that has a positive impact in the community, you're entitled to a vote in our annual election. So you can elect members of the board of directors, and you're also able to vote on any bylaw changes. Okay. That's part of the democratic control. We also have various specials and sale items that are for members only. We have call it an owner rewards program, and that's like a deeper everyday discount on staple items in every department throughout the store. And then, we have an annual meeting that members are free to attend, encouraged to attend, and various other promotions that are member specific throughout the year.
Okay. What percentage of members participate and vote, do you think? I'm not going to quote you on that, but I mean, is it a lot of them or?
I want to say last year, the number that comes to mind is 16%, but
okay.
that could be made up.
Okay. So, I mean, some people are probably doing it mostly for the discounts and not necessarily because they want to have ownership in a company.
Yeah, people are certainly motivated by the discount. For me, I know people who are members of cooperatives that they don't live close to it all because they want to support that positive thing in a community.
Right. And I just think that is, to me, I think maybe because I worked on Kirkwood and shopped at Bloomingfoods and have been going there for a really long time, that it's just so quintessential Bloomington that to me the idea of not having Bloomingfoods is devastating. Like Lucky's, I'm like, oh, that's sad. But I feel bad. Well, I don't feel bad. I never stepped foot inside Lucky's. Well, the only reason I feel bad is because a friend of ours, Piper, works there. And so, I feel bad for her. But other than that, I'm like, so let's talk a little bit about the locations in case people aren't familiar with where you're located. So you have 2 or 3 locations, would you say?
We have 3.
Okay.
2 3/4.
I know. So you've got which one would you call your main store or just East and West?
The East store is our largest store.
So if anyone's familiar with that, that's in the old Kmart, in front of the old Kmart on East 3rd Street. And that one's been there for a long time.
Since
80s?
90s.
Okay. On that one. And then your downtown location, which is on West 6th Street, right? Mm-hmm. And that one just opened a few years back.
13 years.
Has it been 13 years?
Somewhere around there.
Oh, well, because you know how long I've been in Bloomington? 14 years. So there you go. So to me, it's still new. And I think, was that the Encore Cafe location? So who out there remembers? Do you remember Encore Cafe?
I do remember Encore Cafe.
Yeah, they had some good desserts.
Yeah, I don't remember all of that, but at least I know what it looked like on the inside. So I've not been into the West 6th Street location of Bloomingfoods, though.
Do they have all the same things at the East location versus the West 6th Street, or are there different departments and different offerings?
They're quite a bit different based on really the part of the community that each store is serving. Mm-hmm. We also have a much smaller footprint at our 6th Street store, and so we're kind of limited in what we can carry, and so we try to have a broad mix to meet everyone's needs, but we just don't have the space that we have at the East store.
So where is the other...
The Mystery Third location?
The Mystery Third, because
it's right across the street from your house. It's close.
Is it really?
Yeah. Where's the third location?
That's located inside of the Ivy Tech campus.
Is it really?
It really is.
That is wild. I never knew that.
And is that a location that anybody can go to, or is that primarily for students with like quick serve food? Because I've not been in that one. Any
and everyone is welcome to come in.
And what are the kinds of things that they carry in that? Because I imagine that's much, much smaller.
It is. It's really mostly a deli. Okay. We have sandwiches that are made to order, hot sandwiches. We also have a grab and go case with sides and salads, etc. We have a small salad bar, coffee, tea, refrigerated beverages. And then, we don't really have aisles, but the store is kind of stocked with things that you would expect to find useful in between class.
Okay.
Snacks.
Okay. And do you know the hours of that location? So Karen can stop by on her way home from work?
I just love the idea that it's there.
Yeah.
And it's at Ivy Tech.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'm a graduate of IU, but come on, how many people do you know go onto campus to try to get into something? I think that's great.
Yeah.
It's a nice partnership.
Yeah. What brought that about? Do you know?
Actually, as I recall, Ivy Tech reached out to us about operating a small store on their campus, and they've since renovated and added onto the campus, and we were part of that new addition.
That's really cool. Probably because they didn't really, other than vending machines, have any much in the way of food service there.
Right. It's an amenity to the students and the faculty.
But to think that they reached out to I know, right?
That gave me goosebumps. I don't know why. Yeah.
Because here's Ivy Tech, which is, a pretty big entity all over the state, and they're not reaching out to Pizza Hut or Subway or something like that. They're reaching out to something local that benefits and gives back to local to benefit their students. So that's the kind of partnership we like to see for sure. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I've got a few more questions about some of the programs that you have, and then we can talk a little bit more about any other misconceptions that you think are out there. I want to talk about some of the products and things like that. So maybe some of the things that people may not realize that you have. So stick around. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know that you may qualify for a renovation loan to make updates and improvements on your current house, or to purchase a fixer-upper you can turn into your dream home? Apply now for a free, no-strings-attached pre-approval to learn your options. Contact me today at 812-606-7653 to get started. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines, equal housing lender, NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. Never negotiated the purchase of a home before? No worries. We've got you covered. And remember, this is why it's important to have your own representation in the transaction with someone you trust to advise you on the best negotiating strategies. Here are the items you might negotiate in an offer to purchase. First of all, price. That's kind of obvious, but it doesn't just stop there. All the following things also go into composing an offer that a seller is willing to consider. Earnest money. This is a sum of money that you put down to show the seller that you're serious. If you disappear or violate the contract, the seller can keep your earnest money. The stronger the earnest money, the stronger the offer. Number 3, closing costs. Who is paying them and what are the terms of the closing costs? Number 4, closing date and possession. This can be very important to a seller, especially if they're trying to buy another home. Number 5, financing contingencies. What kind of financing do you want to get? A financing contingency allows that if the financing falls through, you can walk away with no penalties. Think about how that feels for a seller. Number 6, home warranty. Do you want the seller to provide one? It's going to cost them, so make sure you figure it into their bottom line. Number 7, inspections and inspection timelines. Don't let this timeline drag on if you are in a tough competition for the home. In some areas, you may even waive inspections, but that gives me major stress, so please try not to do that. Number 8, appraisal contingency. In a competitive market, sometimes homes are bid up. If you have an appraisal contingency, you can walk away if the home doesn't appraise for enough. Great for you, not so great for the seller. Number 9, personal property staying with the home. Anything you'd like to ask for? Don't get crazy. I had a listing once that received 3 offers on the first day. One offer was a low price and they wanted all of the seller's furniture. The buyer's agent said it would be easier for the buyer that way. I responded that it wouldn't be so easy for the seller when he had no place to sleep. That offer didn't even get a second chance. And number 10, appliances. What appliances is the seller offering? If you ask for something that the seller isn't offering, then you may get countered back on that. Every real estate market has its own customs, and depending on how crazy that market is, the sellers have their own expectations. Work with a local professional to ensure that your offer has a shot. For more information, check out my Real Estate Today podcast number 44. You can find it on YouTube, iTunes, and my website, www.athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Joe Reinhardt, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. Deb helped us to sell a property that we had previously listed, for which we were unable to even generate an offer. Deb's responsiveness, professionalism, and her aggressive marketing strategy led to multiple full-price offers for our listing. And that's why I think Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to this episode of At Home in Bloomington. Before we get back to our guests with Blooming Foods, we want to throw back to previous episodes, and I had a heck of a time deciding because, I want to give a shout out to Growing Opportunities, who was a guest a couple episodes ago because they sell their produce at Blooming Foods. But then, I want to give a shout out to Muddy Fork, who was a guest on episode 49 because, on Saturdays, you go and you get your Muddy Fork bread.
Yes.
Either at the farmer's market and Switchyard or Winter Park or downtown, or because it's only there basically on Saturdays because they deliver it on Saturdays and it's gone. Right. I got to get there. Even in the pouring rain, as I learned. But then I also wanted to give a shout out because looking around, this was something I didn't know. Looking around on the Blooming Foods website, they have a page with some discounts with other businesses around town if you're a member. Okay. I love those, like when we had Wonder Lab on and you buy a membership there and you get all these free entries, right? So I love when you have a membership somewhere and it extends outside of just the place you bought the membership for. So one of the ones I wanted to mention is our friend Laura at Bloomington Salt Cave, because as a member of Blooming Foods, you are entitled to 20% off one visit to the Salt Cave. So I think if you start to work through all of those vendors that are offering discounts, you'd probably make back your money on your $90 membership.
Absolutely.
So Salt Cave episode 5, Muddy Fork episode 49, Growing Opportunities episode, I don't have the number written down, but it's probably about 52-ish or so.
I was going to say, I think it's later than 52.
This is episode 60, and I have to tell you, I had to write out the list, and it's getting lengthy, but it's kind of exciting to me that we've done 60 episodes of At Home in Bloomington. So thank you if you've been listening so far. All right, so we have more questions. I want to talk about some of the programs that Blooming Foods has. One of them is Blooming Foods for All. Can you tell us what that program is about?
That program is set up for people who are on WIC or have EBT cards. And by becoming a member then of Blooming Foods, they get 10% off of all of their purchases, which also then that discount will stack with some other discounts that we have going at the time. We realize that $90 is tough for people to make, so we have that program broken down that they can make those payments over a 2-year plan, which at $375 a month.
Wow. 2 years. Okay. That's great. Cause that was my first thought too. I thought, okay, but if they're, needing some assistance or they're food insecure anyways, but you're making that really, really attainable. I love that you mentioned the idea of stacking discounts because I think that's kind of a popular thing to do at Blooming Foods that, there's certain member days or, member specials and then they kind of wait for other specials to go and then they
extreme stacking,
right?
Extreme couponing.
The couponing, right? Stacking. Exactly. Okay. So that's great. Blooming Foods for All. And so people can use whatever, the WIC cards and that they have.
They can use their EBT cards.
Okay.
Right now we don't have WIC.
Okay.
That's something hopefully in the future we'll be able to obtain, but there's certain restrictions with that we're not able to meet at this time.
Okay. And then one of the other things I wanted to mention, the Positive Change Program. That one, is that relatively new?
It's 2.5 years.
Okay. So, relatively new in the 40 plus year. So tell us what that program is about.
Well, the organizations are chosen each year by our owner members, and that's done at the election. We have a lot of people that apply for this, and so that they choose those organizations. And then during that month, every time you shop, you can round up to that organization. It's been very successful.
And they're mostly local organizations.
They are local.
I know that last week when I was in there, it was, I need to think about this story because I was talking with someone about forests. And then I went into Bloomingfoods and they said, do you want to round up? And I said, who's it for? And they said, National,
Indiana Forest Alliance.
There you go. Indiana Forest Alliance. And I thought, why did that come into my world twice in one day? It was really a weird moment. But anyways.
It was wonderful that month. The very first week, we have an anonymous donor that matched everything that was given.
Wow.
For that first week. Yeah.
And I mean, we're talking thousands, like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
We're talking usually $9,000 or $10,000
a month for these organizations, which is amazing because I know some of them, if your budget's $100,000 and your annual budget's $100,000 and someone offers you 10,
well,
that's
just think
magic.
how easy it is just to round up.
Yeah.
And I am still that old school person that keeps a checkbook or that keeps.
Are you in front of me at the grocery store writing a check?
No, I don't do the grocery shopping, but no, I don't write the check.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is if I have the option, even like if I'm at a restaurant and I'm leaving the tip, I round it to make it an even number. Yeah. I don't know.
It's a losing battle though, because you're always paying a bill that's not an even number.
No, but no change. That change can go to the server or to the organization. So I just think it's great. It just makes it super easy to say, yes, let's round up and it. And
I had someone tell me, too, that it was an opportunity for them to help out organizations here, that they didn't have the money to really make a donation, but they felt like they were doing something by rounding up.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. There's giving groups and giving circles and things like that where you think my $5 or my 90 cents isn't really going to make a difference. But when you realize that your 90 cents becomes $10,000,
right,
that's a pretty amazing concept. And so if there's a nonprofit who's interested in sort of throwing their name in the hat, how do they do that? What's the timing for that? Do you know?
They need to do that before the election, so it needs to be in the early summer, I believe, is when the deadline. But there's information on our website and an application for them to fill out. Okay,
awesome. So definitely check that out because I think that's a great, great idea. And then one of the other things you're doing for the community, too, are the Wednesday dinners, Thursday dinners. So tell us about that program.
Yeah, it's a $3 community dinner. The idea is to make clean, simple, healthful food available to anyone in the community. So for $3, you get a protein entree, which is either a meat entree or we always have a vegan option available as well. And then typically 2 sides, so you'll have like a starch, maybe pasta or potatoes, and then a veg side. And that's it. It's pretty low key. It's Wednesday at our West Side store from 5 p.m. until 9 p.m. And then on Thursday night at our East Side store from 4 p.m. until 8 p.m. And it's open to anyone.
And is it carry out?
Carry out is probably certainly the most popular way to partake in that.
People come in and get 4 or 5 and feed the family pretty inexpensively.
Yeah.
There is seating in both. If you've never been inside Bloomingfoods, there is seating in both locations. I don't know. Ivy Tech, there probably is. Well, Ivy Tech, you've got the student center there, right? So they've got hot bars, right? You've got lunchtime. People can go over and both of them have delis.
That's correct.
So there's lots of opportunities to kind of make that a little stop. But yeah, I love that idea.
I can get over the price. I know.
You need to tell your husband.
This is the deal of the century. This is the deal of the century since, I would say in the last several episodes for sure.
It makes me think about, I don't know, because Bloomingfoods always makes me think about college because that's when I first, encountered it. And I was pretty poor in college. I was trying to pay my way through and had scholarships to cover tuition, but was working and just doing what I could and made friends with a lot of people that worked in the various restaurants on Kirkwood so that I could just sort of go up and down and get a little free breadstick over here and a little something over there to feed myself. But $3 to get a really, I think, balanced and nutritious health. Yeah. Because in the 90s, it probably would have been $1.50. So that's pretty amazing. So I want to encourage everyone to check that out too. Let's talk a little bit. I want to share one of my favorite things about Bloomingfoods, which unfortunately probably doesn't put a ton of money in Bloomingfoods' pocket, but one of my go-to always Bloomingfoods only is herbs and spices. Have you ever checked out that? No, I know you don't cook, but really,
I know. I'm giving Deb that look like, you know me, I don't cook.
You're exhausting me. The bulk spices, herbs, seasonings, loose leaf teas, all of these things. I went in yesterday and was looking for something and it got stuck by the teas and I was just standing there staring at them all. That you can get just a little bit of.
Okay.
See, this is what I love about it. So I'm making a pumpkin pie. I don't really need a whole container of pumpkin pie spice. I just need a little bit. You can just go and just get a little bit. And that's something that they've had from day one, I think. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that's some of what the Buyers Club was back in the 70s, was maybe getting some hard to find.
I think so.
Spices and herbs, but that section has grown. And I don't know if there's, interesting things there that you know of that you think people might not.
Well, I think that this is going to be the way of the future. People don't want plastic anymore.
Yeah.
So this is a way to bring in your own containers. We can weigh the container for you, and then you can fill it up, and you can keep refilling it.
So tell me how to do that. I love this idea. I know I shared something, I think, last year on Facebook about these zero waste stores that are becoming popular in Europe. Probably Holland, right? And the Netherlands, because that's where they all do all the cool stuff. But that people bring their own, container to put peanut butter in and they just buy it, like a soft serve ice cream or whatever, and they just buy it and they go home and there's no waste. So I was thinking about this the other day because I was getting some herbs and I was putting them in the plastic bags and I was like, I feel good and yet I feel bad about using this plastic bag. So where would I go in the store if I want to bring my own container to put the herbs in?
You just need to go to one of the cashiers who
Okay.
can weigh it. And then we measure, we weigh what the container weighs. So of course you're not going to pay for that. So you can bring in your ball jar, your glass jar, or canister, whatever it is. Right.
And then you just fill it
and
up.
we subtract the weight of the container.
That's awesome. I'm going to do that next time and get rid of those little plastic bags that drive me crazy.
It is. I'm just sitting here thinking, I think of my spice cabinet.
Yeah.
And all those unused, and then you have to toss it because they're old. They're old.
Right.
Yeah. They're old after a minute. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you don't cook, but it's such an interesting way to, we've been talking a lot about one of my themes in marketing this year has been adding luxury to your life and how you can do that in very inexpensive ways. And that luxury isn't about a price point, but it's about sort of a feeling. And for some people, it's a feeling of adventure and being free to kind of, try a curry that you've never really tried or try the stuff they have there is crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, I just want to try everything. It's just really cool.
I just like the idea that I don't have to I can buy as much as I need or as much as I want.
Yeah.
And
then you've got other bulk, but I know I'm just talking about spices and herbs because that's what I really care about. But there's a whole bulk section. So what other kinds of things are in that bulk section?
Laundry soap.
You too?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I make my own laundry soap. Pioneer like that.
Cleaning supplies.
That are all bulk.
Correct.
So you just bring your container. Well, now wait a minute, because we were talking on Facebook about we need this zero waste. Why is no one out there going, oh, we have it. It's at Bloomingtons. Pasta, things like that, don't you? Do you have pasta, grains?
We had pasta in the past. But
Okay.
That was a little less successful for us. But we have, grains, beans, other legumes, dried fruit, nuts, granolas.
Interesting.
You're going to have to go back there now and go back and you need to go in when you don't really need something.
Yeah.
And that's where you can see everything.
When I'm
otherwise you're just focused on,
I know. I need to go in unfocused.
Yes. And then you end up donating a lot more.
It's usually my garlic powder and Italian seasoning. I go through a lot of oregano. Yeah. Okay. So what does the future hold for Bloomingfoods? There's been a lot of talk and I know there's not really answers, but we kind of started the show talking a little bit about Lucky's and them not surviving. And I think that's a testament to Bloomingfoods. And so I guess I want reassurance that Bloomingfoods is going to be there for me in the future. Can you give that to me?
Well, as most people know, we have a lease that was going to end here in June, and we have a developer that's interested in developing that area, and we've been talking to. So we think that there's some good possibilities for Bloomingfoods out there.
Yeah. But I mean, the West Side location is solid too. So there's certainly always going to be that. But it sounds like the viability of Blooming Foods is strong.
We've had a lot of owners say we need to be on the East Side too.
Yeah. So there is that need. Awesome. Anything new coming down the pike that you're going to be introducing, new products or anything like that? Are you always testing new products? How does a grocery store, I keep asking questions and I'm not giving you a chance to answer because I'm going down this rabbit hole. I mean, how do you determine what goes on the shelves?
Well, first you decide what's not moving, and then you start looking for replacements for those things. The top sellers.
We do have a product selection policy. So you're not going to find high fructose corn syrup on our shelves. You're not going to find hydrogenated oils. We give preference to glass packaging over plastic. We give preference to organic over conventional, preference to local over nationally produced. So, we do have a statement and a policy that drives what we choose.
And then do people make requests for things and then you sort of consider testing them out?
All the time.
Yeah.
We really try to be very responsive to what our members want. I mean, that's part of owning the co-op, right?
I read a blog post just when I was kind of doing background research that was probably from a few years ago. And it was from someone on management, like in the newsletter or whatever, talking about why certain things are on the shelf and why other things aren't on the shelves. And it seems like people can get very passionate about what should or shouldn't be on the shelf. Is that a true statement?
That is certainly true.
And when you are owned by 12,500 people, that's a lot of passion. So yeah, I guess there are people that, well, it's interesting because it's just, to me, it's such an interesting base of people because I think that a lot of the members, they're thinking deeper than just, the label. They're going beyond what is on the, the ingredient list. They're going into what the business and company's ethics are and how much that business, that producer of whatever the salsa that they're buying, what they're paying their employees or how they're treating their employees or how they're treating their animals and things like that. Is that a fair statement?
That is very fair statement.
And so there tends to be a lot of passion about that. And I just think that's a really interesting, a deeper way of approaching things.
Right.
Well, and if there are products that we used to carry that we can't carry, we can't stock the shelf with now, we have special orders. So people can.
Nice. So if I'm looking for something, I tell you what, a couple months ago, what was I looking for? It was an Asian ingredient and I probably went to 8 different stores before I found it. And so, of course, I was trying to make it that night. So it was not something that could be special order. But if you plan ahead, then it was fermented black beans. Could not find them to save my life. I was about to go crazy. I even posted on Facebook, where do I find this? And everybody's like, Blooming Foods. I'm like, no, Sahara Mart. No. So anyways, so that's always a good, I don't think people realize that they could just ask, can you place this order? And then you can get it. Awesome. Well, I want to encourage everyone to go to Blooming Foods. If you haven't been in there, call me. I'll take you in there. And if they ask for your member number and you say, I don't have one, there's no shame in that. I mean, you can get a member number, but there's no shame in it. Don't feel bad. I think that was one of the things that the employee I had that, she felt embarrassed. No, I don't have a member number. I'm sorry. And then you feel
But you still would have to go in to be able to even establish that anyway. So it's a good opportunity to see, what am I about to become a member of? And let's see the layout of the land.
Yeah.
So
everyone's welcome.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a great place. I think everybody's always friendly and helpful and, it's really cool stuff. So.
Can you recap what the hours are on the East Side location and then the West Side location?
If they're different.
Yeah.
Our East Side store is open from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. And that's 7 days a week. And our West Side store is open from 7:30 a.m. until 10 p.m.
Okay.
7 days a week.
Nice. And your website is Blooming Foods. Is it .org?
It's .coop.co-op.
Oh, .coop.
No hyphen.
COOP. So I want to encourage everyone, and if you feel like just doing a little bit of interesting research, I think this concept of co-ops is kind of an interesting concept that the crazy people of the 70s probably started, and still around today. So, do you know, I got to ask one more question. Are there a lot of co-ops around? Like, this is the only one I know of in Bloomington, but is it?
Indiana has, right, there's some that are working on forming, but right now has 2 other food co-ops.
That's it.
There's one in Goshen, Indiana, and another in Fort Wayne, Indiana. That's all I'm aware of.
Okay. So it is another way that Bloomington is special. Because, that's really cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Check out Blooming Foods. If you're scared to go inside, come and I will hold your hand. Just call me. I'll hold your hand and we'll go in together. All right. And we will be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington.
Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.